Chef Rassi and an inspiring talk by Chad Augeson about what it takes to be a man. So first of all, if you're inspired, that's all on God because that's a lot of pressure on me. But secondly, this whole question about what it takes. Now, this isn't a question about what it takes to be a man. This is a question about, do I have what it takes to be a man? And that's what I want to share with you today. And the context of that is I just recently read a book called Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. And some of you will have read it, some of you have heard about it, some of you have heard me ramble on incessantly about it in the last couple of months. But it was really an eye-opener for me, and it kind of showed me some things about myself that I want to share with you guys today. Another theme that you're going to see kind of throughout my presentation is this. Vulnerability. Now, you can unclench your jaws and your butt cheeks. Okay? This is about me being vulnerable. In order for me to share with you, I'm going to show you some things about my life that, there's some stuff that I'm probably not too proud of. But the fact is that in order for me to make this connection with you, I have to be vulnerable. I have to take off that mask and show you what I'm about. All right? Growing up in my house, there were two types of emotions that you could show as a man. Now, it was my dad, myself, three brothers, and my mom was the only female. So it kind of gives you a bit of the base of what it was. So the two emotions, happiness and anger. Yep. Okay? So if you didn't show either of those two, then you get a picture taken of you while you're crying. Now, these lyrics from Colors Run just kind of reinforce the example of this father to son thing. The question presented in Wild at Heart is supposed to be answered by your father. Your father is supposed to initiate you into manhood, to show you what it takes to be a man. My father was not very good at that. So, if he wanted to show you what you looked like when you were crying like a girl or acting like a baby, he took a picture of you so you'd know what you looked like when you were crying like a baby or acting like a girl. Now, as a kid, he might have been being funny. This might have been a joke to him, but what's the message that he's communicating? Right off the bat, I don't have what it takes. So another example, more recently, my parents have been cleaning out some stuff, and they gave me my baby book. So I'm firstborn, so most of it was filled out, right? The bracelet from the hospital, maybe a lock of hair, all those things. And it's got these little things in the bed. You've all seen them, right? My mom and dad brought me home in this outfit, right? My mom and dad said this about me. So my mom and dad said this when they first met. My mom, I don't even know what it said, but you know what my dad said? He's ugly. Okay? So again, what's the message that's being communicated as I go through? Now, honestly, I could stand up here and I could bash my dad all day long. But I'm not going to do that. My folks are on the right. His folks are on the left. So dad, grandpa, my dad's grandpa, they didn't teach. They didn't teach their sons how to be a man or what it took to be a man. So my dad told me that he probably cannot remember a time when his parents talked to him in a manner that was comforting or loving. So how was he supposed to know how to teach me? He didn't. So I can't stand up here and bash him. However, what that means is I had to kind of figure it out for myself. So what do I do? Do I have what it takes? How do I prove that? I become the guy that does. All right? So that's Chad in the middle as the pirate. Chad is the cowboy. Chad is Captain Hook in the second grade play. Right? But ultimately, what I found out was that as an achiever, an overachiever no less, that was just another form of violence that I was able to do. Now, I had a couple different dynamics going here. Not only was I, an overachiever, I was a firstborn. So most of my achieving had to be within the bounds of responsibility. Right? I couldn't just be out doing things. I've got some brothers who kind of bounce outside of the realm of acceptable behavior. However, I had to make sure that I was achieving, trying to prove. So I was Chad the baseball player, Chad the football player. I was also in band, choir, jazz band, swing choir, student council, and I know it doesn't seem like it, but I was on the speech team. But also, the other thing I'll say about this is that how I would feel about my Christianity at this point was that I was a Sunday school Christian, right? You guys all know what that means? Cool. If I say that to you, I went to Sunday school. I went to all the things. I sang in the musicals. I even sang the liturgy at the Lutheran service probably half a dozen times. Okay? In a robe that looked just like that, which is why we have a picture on it, because my mom thought I was going to be a pastor or something. But ultimately, I was an achiever, an overachiever. So I didn't have a relationship with Christ. I knew all the stories. I went to church mostly to socialize, hang out with my friends. That's what we did. We lived across the street for a while, so I got drugged there after prom one morning. Anyway, that's a different story. My dad had another way of kind of jokingly saying something about manhood. And he would say, when you turn 18, you're getting a set of suitcases. Guess what I got when I was 18?
Yeah.
Now, these are not the actual suitcases that I got when I was 18, but they're a fair representation. But again, what's the message that's being sent? You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. The only way that's going to happen for you is if you go and do it. Go away and do it. So that's what I did. I took these suitcases, and I went as far away as I possibly could. In fact, I told people that's why I was leaving. I was going to college in Southern California because then I would be so far away that I didn't have to rely on anybody back home. I was going to make it my own way, right? No help with money, no help with laundry, none of that stuff, all right? At college, I went to a Lutheran school, and we took Christianity classes. And we just had a conversation in Bible study about this the other day. Because I lacked any foundation, any real foundation in Christ, the information I got was just enough to make me dangerous.
Yeah.
So if I found out that maybe the Bible wasn't exactly written the way I thought it was, or if I heard some history, or if I cheated my way all the way through Intro to Christianity, which I did, I said, you know what, if it's not right, all of it, it all goes out. So I'd say at this point, I would talk about my path as going to be my own God. And I'll let you take a look at this for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I am my own God. Here I am. Huh? Pretty godly, right? Seriously, check it out. Golden shorts, golden tan, Ray-Ban sunglasses, and the hair, the color on the box said platinum blonde. I told you I was going to have to get vulnerable tonight. There it is. So, this was the culture that I was at. This is where I was at in my life. I was going to do what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to answer to anybody. I was going to be my own God. Now, that led me to a culture at the time. And I'll kind of show you. Some people say it was this that caused me to act the way I do now, but this is kind of interesting.
Yeah, rugby.
So yeah, I'm number 10. And if you look real close here, you'll see my chest just doing this. You know, I'm so severely concussed right here. This is where they're asking me what my name is and what day it is. And it's always Chad and it's always Saturday when you play rugby, so I didn't have to worry about getting taken out of the game.
Yeah. Talking about TBI.
So, off I go, proving that I have what it takes to be a man, right? Okay, I don't know if you heard in the background a little bit, a couple people on the sidelines, get up, Chad, we need you, come on, buddy. Pop right back up. I don't remember the rest of that game.
No.
I don't remember all the beer we drank afterwards with the other team. But maybe not so much the knock in the head, but the general lifestyle of what I went to when I kind of developed that rugby playing social culture. That's this one. Oh, goodness. I told you. So a couple of things I want to point out here. First of all, there was never a day I didn't come out of a rugby game with some sort of damage, right? It's scraped knees, cleat marked, black eye, bloody head. It didn't matter what it was. This was another form of violence that was socially acceptable for me. Okay? I was able to go out and beat the crap out of somebody else and myself. And everybody cheered me on for it. Clearly, that was enough for me to prove that I had what it takes, right? Maybe. Yeah, I gotta point out the earring. Do you know what that is? It's a battle axe.
Nice.
Costume battle axe. I picked it up at some Halloween store. The worst part about that earring is whatever the post was made of, I was allergic to. So my ear swelled up every time I wore it. It took about 3 days for it to go back down. Yeah. The last thing I'll point out on this particular slide is this. You guys notice the handcuff, right? Yeah, right. So CLURC, California Lutheran Rugby University Rugby Club. Dry campus, by the way.
Yep.
When the MVP gets picked by the team, you get handcuffed to the pitcher. And the rule was that if your pitcher got close to done, the team would fill it back up for you. Not just your team, the other team too. So this was an entire culture of this kind of behavior, right? Ultimately, what I found being my own God was this. These lyrics by Lit pretty much sum it up. I was my own worst enemy. Now, the beautiful thing to remember about all this is that God never let me get too far away. Throughout all of this time, He kept putting people in place that, like I say, didn't let me get too far away. My roommate in college, I met my wife Jen, some of you know her, many of you do, very strong Christian. My mother-in-law, she died in '99. She was an amazing woman, lit up the room, very, very strong Christian. We found Woodridge, Pastor Paul, all of these things. Now, again, this is a long time, right? We're talking about mid-90s up until 3 months ago when we read this book. This is my crockpot Christian time, okay? I said crockpot, not crackpot. Slow burn, right? It took a long time, but God never let me get too far away. And ultimately, I said something really profound to my wife once. Do it again. She was pregnant with our second child. And Maya was almost 2 years old, and she came to me, and she was about 7 months pregnant. She was kind of emotional. Everybody who's had kids knows what that's like. She was crying. She was afraid that when we had a fourth child, that all the love that we felt between the three of us was going to spread out and be thinner. Right? And my profound statement was that, no, guess what? Our love is going to grow to encompass that fourth child, or that fourth person. So I said something profound. I had no idea. Thought it was pretty cool, so at least I remembered it for this. So all this time, God never let me get too far away. And just, there's a place that you can go and you're not invisible to Him. And I think that's really important to remember. So then we get to this point where I'm involved in church. I'm going to some Bible studies Friday morning, Sunday nights. I'm getting into the Word. Things are starting to heat up a little bit for me. And all this time, some people get whispers from God. Some people get, talked to. Maybe there's a little bit more than that. This is what I got.
Yeah.
So yeah, God didn't whisper at me. He hit me over the side of the head with a 2x4. Not here or here, but right about here. I don't know, maybe you guys don't know the rest of that. And what it was that reading this book opened up my eyes. I didn't even know I was trying to answer the question, do I have what it takes, until I read Wild at Heart. And what I found was the true essence of strength is passed to us from God through our union with Him.
Yeah.
Amen. Right? God is our true Father. I don't have to worry about my earthly father teaching me what it takes to be a man, because guess what? The creator of the universe made me one.
Yeah.
Right? I am a man. I don't have to prove that to anybody. And I'll tell you what, the weight that lifted off my shoulders, the sense of peace that I've had since then, it's been amazing. You know, and maybe some of you who have talked to me after have noticed a difference, but it's been crazy. Relationships at home, relationships with people that work for me, relationships with people that I study with. It's been amazing, and it's a sense of peace. And Paul even touched on this on Sunday. It's more than just this, hey, let's be calm peace. It's
Amen.
a complete peace, right? It's a feeling of contentment, wholeness, well-being, harmony. One of the things that I used to do when I was playing rugby, no matter what the game, no matter what level the game or how important it was, I'd get nervous, right? I'd get butterflies, I'd get nervous. And I'd find myself thinking, gosh, I wish this game was over. Right? Because if it was over already, I would know how it turned out. Now, not because I was afraid of competing or afraid of not doing well or anything like that, but because that sense of knowing already, of how I performed, of how it turned out, it would give me that peace. Guess what? I know how this life turns out now. Yeah? So, I've just been overflowing, right? Overflowing with this peace. Now, I do have a visual. You're going to like this one. Please don't ask me how I got the mouth on the guy to line up with the song, because I'm not good at that. It just was pure dumb luck. That's how I feel, right? So, what to take from my example, and just a few things I wanted to share with you. Give up trying to prove that you have what it takes. The creator of the universe made you a man.
Yep.
Right? That's enough. You don't have to prove to anybody else. He knew you before he created the universe, and he loves you. Don't be ashamed of your past. Okay? Clearly there are a few things on that video that I could be ashamed about. Now, we've had a number of conversations with the guys I study with about the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt being something that you've done wrong, that you know is wrong. Okay? But shame is feeling like you're less of a person because of something that you've done, right? God made you in his image, and he knows you're fallible, right? He knows you make mistakes. He forgives you. Let him forgive you. That's really important. This one I like. Challenge beliefs of what it means to be a man. I might have stole some of these from Mr. Monger. Because today's society, Hollywood, movies, TV, all of it, it's so skewed as far as what it takes to be a man. And we don't have to be that. God is our Father. He made us men. That's all we need to know. Ask God to answer questions through his word. I mentioned a number of the studies that I've done and the Bible verses, and it's all in there, right? All of it's in there. You just have to open it up and take a look. Whether it's an app on your phone, whether it's the dusted off Bible from next to your bed, whatever it takes, open it back up and spend some time there. And last, connect with other men and learn from them. I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for our number of men in this room right now. Okay? It's because they were able to share with me what their information, their thoughts, the things they have gone through. And if you've got something that you're dealing with, I pretty much guarantee someone in this room has also gone through that same thing. Now, whether they're willing to share it with you or not, that's another thing, but that's why we're here connecting. Okay? Thought I was done, didn't you? I got one more. No more video. So what does this mean? How does this change who I am? I mentioned it a little bit earlier about, my relationships with my family. and how I'm able to serve more. And I can just hear my dad in my ear going, well, if I help people all the time, and if I turn the cheek every single time, I'm not going to get mine, or I'm going to get taken advantage of. But ultimately, that doesn't happen, and I'll share with you why. One of the things I used to do as a rugby player, if I wanted to be better at, it's not like we grew up playing rugby in this country, so everything we had to learn was later on in life. But I would find someone who did it better than I did. So if I wanted to be a better tackler, if I wanted to be a better passer, if I wanted to be more fit, I'd find somebody who did those things, and I'd say, hey, how do you do that? What is it that you do to make you so good at that? And I would implement that. I'd model that behavior. Well, we have a perfect model, don't we? Jesus Christ is our model, right? And Jesus Christ gives. He serves, right? The ultimate servant. And really one of the great examples of this is when he fed the 5,000. He started with 2 fish and 5 or 7 loaves. I can never keep straight. Fed 5,000 or 10,000 people, whichever book you read. And at the end, how much do you have left over? 10 or 12 baskets. Depends on the story you read. All this left over. It's the same exact for us. When you have the Holy Spirit working in you, when you have let it go and given to God and use Jesus as your model, there's more than enough left over for you at the end. Okay? Now, I know that Paul is excited to maybe play some basketball, so I'm going to make that my last slide. We're going to wrap this up, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and listen to what I had to say tonight. Thanks so much.
Amen.